The market is quite mixed today, but there is one token, the S token by Sonic, which used to be Fantom, that's outperforming. Now let's have a look at what's going on here. The big question is always, does it still make sense to jump on a rally like this? How much higher could Fantom or now Sonic go? Let's have a look at some data most people are not considering. Now we're currently at 61 cents. We are up 12% today, 36% this week. And interestingly enough, since launch of this year, we rather went down by 25%. Now here's the thing. It seems like Fantom is now starting to get used in decentralized finance again. So have a look at this overview of various chains and the total value locked difference in the last month. Pretty much everything went down except Sonic and Hyperliquid. Hyperliquid is a platform that mainly houses a decentralized perpetual futures exchange. Sonic is the rebranded Fantom. And there is real usage happening. We are now at 467 million of total value locked. A lot of that is in Silo Finance, which by the way is also available on other chains. Silo itself has 150 million, and here is the user interface. There's a bit over 100 million in the Sonic USDC pool, which gives around 13% APY. But what's important to know here is that this also has potential for impermanent loss. So something like stake Sonic versus the actual Sonic token, which can give very similar APYs, might be a bit better in terms of risk to reward. Now, I had been a user of Fantom back in the early days when there was a DeFi summer. There were a lot of different applications on Fantom, also some of them that were somewhat Ponzi scheme like, but a lot of them also had usage. Now there were two main reasons why Fantom stopped growing. The first reason was scalability. So when Andre Cronje, the main developer of Fantom, launched a new DeFi platform, usually a lot of funds would flow into that platform, but all of that demand tended to also clog up the blockchain. So have a look at this chart over here. This is the gas prices on Fantom. People were used to pay pretty much nothing for a transaction, and then when a launch came, suddenly it became very, very expensive to use Fantom, to similar degrees to one would pay on Ethereum at the time. Only when Fantom was not used was it cheap, so there was clearly a bottleneck. That was issue number one. Issue number two was bridged tokens. So there are several bridges to the Fantom blockchain, but the main bridge was AnySwap or multi-chain. Multi-chain was based in China and multi-chain got hacked. So all of the funds were gone. And so we saw a decoupling of, for example, the stable coins on Fantom versus say the stable coins on other chains, right? We couldn't swap one to one anymore because all of those funds were suddenly gone. Now it seems like both of those issues have now been solved with Sonic. There is now a native gateway to bridge from Ethereum to Fantom or to Sonic. And Sonic isn't just a rebrand. There was actually also a technical upgrade to remove this bottlenecking to make Sonic more scalable. And so that's why I believe there is a real possibility that Fantom or Sonic could rally again. It's already now outperforming pretty much everything else. Have a look at the most trending tokens on Sonic in the last 24 hours. It's pretty much everything green. And then compare how Solana is behaving at the same time. It's not all green. The multi-chain hack brought Fantom to a standstill, but now maybe the DeFi community comes back again to the chain. We already see a quite positive trend despite the rest of crypto not having expanded that much in the last few weeks. And so I believe this is a potential opportunity. Short term, we might be heated because there is some leverage in the market. Have a look at Binance. There's 83% of trading volume on the perpetual futures exchanges. So 209 million US dollars worth of Fantom or of Sonic moved hands. And the spot trading volume is also rather active, but the fundamentals definitely look quite promising, especially given that the price didn't really do that well since beginning of the year, but the adoption is definitely there. And so I am considering to buy some Sonic as well. I don't hold any yet. I have sold all my Fantom at the peak of the DeFi summer. I'm considering to buy back in, but I don't hold any tokens right now. I always try to first publish a video before buying myself because I don't like to buy a token to then afterwards promote it to basically pump and dump on the audience, right? I don't like this conflict of interest. I always try to buy after publishing a video. Here's the thing. The market isn't expanding as quickly anymore as it used to, right? With the Trump push, now the question is what can come that's even larger than that, that pushes prices even higher. And because of that, because it's more and more player versus player, even though the market in aggregate might be somewhat balanced, it's still just a few assets that outperform everything. Have a look at this picture. The tokens that are between 101 and 200 in terms of market cap, they in the last month went pretty much plus minus zero, right? They gained slightly. But when we look at this picture here, that's just because there are a few massive outliers. And the question really is, when we look at 100 tokens, how likely is it that we are going to pick Toshi or the Swift coin or AIC? Especially when we hold a diversified portfolio and we have, say, 5 or 10 altcoins, the likelihood is pretty high that that altcoin portfolio is going to underperform. Because if you held AI16Z and you made a minus 76% loss, or you held Turbo and you lost 40%, or you held Mockcoin or Mu and you're down more than 30%, it's very hard to still have positive performance. And I'm a fan of trying to get the odds in our favor, right? It's possible to pick the winners if you are very early and if you adopt something like Trump in the earliest hours and if you are one of the top traders, that is possible. But if you don't have time to watch the crypto markets 24/7 or if you're not based in Asia, then it's very, very hard to get those winners all the time. And so why not go the easy route? Why not simply bet on falling prices? If most altcoins do worse than Bitcoin most of the time, and if there's just a few assets that outperform that massively, then we can just pick a random asset over here and we are very likely going to make money in the next month. We just have to make sure that we don't fall for those few tokens that are discussed everywhere. When we bet on falling prices of Chiliz or of Safe or of DYDX, and that's a comparatively safe bet. It's definitely still risky because this is the crypto market and the crypto market does get manipulated, but it's less risky than trying to find the needle in the haystack. And there are some tokens that underperform more consistently than others. For example, this one over here, Balancer. I started shorting Balancer in the middle of 2022. I went on and off about that position. Sometimes I was short, sometimes I was out of the market taking profit. But since that point in time, Balancer underperformed Ethereum by more than 80%. So it's not just that most altcoins do worse than Bitcoin. It's also that some of those altcoins underperform most of the time. And so I've made several videos on this topic. It's a comparatively advanced topic because it's also easy to get burnt with shorts. That's why most retail investors don't get involved in this. But there are premium tutorials how to win in bear markets by shorting altcoins. It's 42 minutes in length. Then there's another video gaining from relative valuations. Then there's another one shorting optimism relative to Bitcoin. This has been published quite a while ago. This, by the way, is now optimism relative to Bitcoin. So this was a good position. And the reason why most altcoins do worse than Bitcoin is tokenomics, as in more and more tokens get issued over time. And if the demand cannot keep up with the token issuance, then the price has to underperform the rest. Now, this is not a good strategy during a massive bull run, but it is a good strategy during a bear market, of course, but also during sideways movement. Because again, even during a sideways movement, money flows just into a very few basket of altcoins. Most alts do worse. And so this is all part of the premium membership of this channel. Premium is not just about shorting, it's also about on-chain analytics. It's also about portfolio management and risk mitigation. There's more than 100 tutorial videos in total in premium. Now, this is not a topic to make a 10x next week, but it is a topic to outperform steadily and slowly. And if you can only outperform, say, by 30 percentage points per year, and Bitcoin itself already grows by 30% per year, which I believe is somewhat of a conservative bet. Then if we do this over 4 years, and again, we don't have to trade very actively, we can 8x our capital. Now, if you have just a few $100 of invest, then an 8x within 4 years doesn't really sound that great. And then by all means, feel free to gamble with that money, right? Because you can also recoup the money very quickly just by working more, just by saving more. But if you've got already several years of your income saved up, or if you've got $10,000, $50,000, if you have more money, then an 8x does matter, right? 10K becomes 80K in a relatively okay-ish time period. And so I actually find it easier to make money in bear markets and during times like this. Again, because we don't have to pick the winners. We can simply have a diversified portfolio of short positions. Again, because most altcoins underperform Bitcoin most of the time. If you own a lot of altcoins and you hold them over 10 years, you're probably not going to do that well. Because have a look at the top tokens 10 years ago. How many of them do you really recognize? Paycoin, BitShares, MadeSafeCoin, NXT. Yes, Stellar is still around, Dogecoin is still around, but where is Peercoin, Counterparty? Dash also underperformed Bitcoin quite a lot, so did Namecoin. So really the crypto markets are not venture capital markets, right? The crypto markets are very much player versus player, and it's better to simply bet on the vast majority doing worse most of the time. Not in a bull market, but most of the time. And I believe currently this does apply. Currently we are in most of the times. The crypto valuations are comparatively high. A lot of people made profit and took profit at 100K. And so if your portfolio is large enough, it's not just a few $100s, but it's maybe in the $10,000 and above, then feel free to check out the premium membership. There's also a 1-week money back guarantee. So in case you don't like premium, simply message me within the first week and I'll refund you 100%. There's really zero risk for you. If it's the first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish videos regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you in the next video or see you in premium. Cheers.